All right, what's up, man? Hey, Chat with Gunner, episode 149. We got a guy that I just met. We just been doing some catching up on the Zoom per se on StreamYard. But Cody Sloniecki, right?
Nailed it. Yeah.
Nailed it, man. Look at that. I didn't even ask him how to pronounce it. I just guessed and got it right. Um, Dude, thanks for coming to the show. I'm excited to have a conversation with you, get to know you a little bit. You put some comments on one of my posts where we were talking about gambling and getting into that, and we kind of struck up a conversation there. So, dude, what's up? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. I think one thing that, using LinkedIn, everyone tries to stay a little bit professional and stay away from some of those topics. But I think it's pretty cool that you're adding that extra layer and really getting people to engage with your post. And, that's the biggest thing is really getting that engagement between people. And it adds a little bit different than saying, what are people doing for their sales goals and their sales calls and stuff. Really adding that extra little touch to get people to engage is a huge part of it. And that was pretty cool that you did that.
Yeah, I'm starting to treat LinkedIn like it's just all of my other social medias put together
Yeah.
instead of like
Yeah.
trying to put pictures on Instagram and TikToks on TikTok and trying to be cool and just like letting everybody know my personal life on Facebook. Bro, just I'm sitting here in front of a computer every day in front of
Yeah.
LinkedIn. That's the professional networking site. That's where the money is. I'm just going to build a community there and throw stuff out there and see what happens. And so far, the stuff that people engage with the most is the sports polls. The polls about like what's one thing you'd get rid of when it comes to like burgers. It's literally virtual water cooler talk is what I call it. And that's what people engage with. And then you can go after them as customers. Then you can go after them as suppliers or carriers, whatever you
Yeah.
need to use them for. But you have a conversation and you've already kind
Yeah.
of broken the ice a little bit per se. So
Yeah.
that's
And
how
you
we got to talking.
exactly. Yeah. And you sell yourself. I mean, if you start to show some of your interest that way, it's just a little bit more natural. Like, being in a sales role in the past, what I did was, really just go through their interest and sometimes search their like, Facebooks and things and find things that stuck out about them. But you doing that little extra step and getting ahead of it is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, man, it's fun. And then stuff that we like to talk about here at the office. It was one day we were sitting around and all the guys were like debating one thing, like what do you not like on your pizza or something. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna throw a poll out on LinkedIn, and like 200 people replied to their poll in literally like less than an hour. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I figured it out here. So the next day
Yeah.
I was like, you know, what type of candy would you want to get rid of or something like that. And then I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, it's sports. Got to go sports. And then,
Yeah.
dude, that was it. So
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
free
know.
leads right there too.
Yeah,
Start to go
man.
after
Yeah,
some of those people.
absolutely. And we spend time in there talking about stuff, like that anyway. So why not just waste time and put it on a show? So I started doing the football and freight show where we got freight guys talking about football. So
Yeah.
it's fun. But anyways, we're right across you. You started talking like some legit like gambling terminology, some stuff that you hear if you actually go onto the websites, hear the analysts talk, the guys that are professional gamblers. There's terminology in industries, right? And I knew what you were saying. So have you gambled in the past? Was there a problem there? Like, tell me about your gambling history.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of it started from college, where statute of limitations. Luckily, I'm out of that. But in Massachusetts, it's not legal just yet. I was doing it a lot in Massachusetts, but it was just more friend stuff and having a good time and just sort of small things. A lot of like Super Bowl props. That's sort of how I was introduced to it. Like how long's the national anthem, things like that, where it just started getting pretty excited. What color's the Gatorade? And then, as I grew up, I had a lot more friends that are interested, into it. And I, you know, worked in Rhode Island for a little bit and it was legal there. So it was a little bit easier to, just have something on your phone and instead of having to go to the, actual sports book and put it in, everyone's done like the Vegas trip and, did a couple bachelor parties where it's a little bit easier to, go there. And then, being in Massachusetts, it's, a little bit tougher, but we do have those options to go across state borders. Which being close to the border, it's a little bit easier. You just sit in a parking lot and put a bet in. But I think it's a lot. There's a lot of math and a lot of analytics that go into it. I'm not a big numbers guy, but when it comes to this, I'm starting to get there. It's pretty cool to see some of the trends that go out there, seeing how much like the public is betting on a team compared to like how much like the money is going into certain sides. So it's cool to see things like that.
Have you ever watched the movie Two for the Money?
I haven't. What's that? Who's in it? What's
What?
it about? I
What,
know.
dude? So Al Pacino, Matthew McConaughey. First of all, Matthew McConaughey's in it, so that's guaranteed. But Al Pacino.
Yeah.
So it's literally based on a true story of this guy. that was a sports handicapper, and Al Pacino plays like this huge consultant that he's kind of like the guys that would sell bets. They don't bet; they sell the
Yeah.
bets to people, right? So he had this thing that he was doing in New York, kind of under the radar, low key, kind of legal, kind of not legal, because he was selling picks, not selling the book.
Yeah.
And then he had Matthew McConaughey, which was a former Division I football player, quarterback, stud, got hurt, didn't make it to the league, but he just knew football and knew how to pick games and was really good at it. So this guy started making people a lot of money. And it's that story about how Al Pacino found Matthew McConaughey. That was like his younger version of himself and brought him up, and he's a star sports consultant. And
Yeah.
they just make all the money. But it's a really good movie, and it's all about sports gambling.
It gets pretty deep, into the consultant sides and the handicappers and people selling picks. I was listening to one of your shows in the past talking about like Vegas Dave and guys like that have run into a ton of different trouble with situations. But I think it's pretty cool, and I just think there's so much that goes into it, and a lot of free time Monday nights again during the games and Thursday nights while I'm watching, just kind of on my laptop. I got a nice little TV back there. I got a second monitor here, so it helps just kind of doing a little bit, working on one laptop, on the other monitor, checking out lines and watching the other game as it goes on. It's
Yeah.
just a little hobby that I've sort of built up and having a little bit of fun with it. And it's not a major thing like you mentioned on your post the other day. The unit size isn't big enough to break the bank, and it's not big enough to let me retire. I'd like to get to a point where I could off gambling, but it's more just having a little bit of fun, and you start to learn a lot more. And that's why I'm starting to get into the college too, so that I'm ready when they get old enough to play in the NFL. You start to get that,
Yeah.
get a little sneak peek of the guys when they're a little bit younger.
Well, you can talk to this as well. Like we're in sales. Most people in sales are numbers guys, or I am per se. Like
Yeah,
everything I do is on a spreadsheet. So like I'm a huge numbers guy, and that's hilarious because my worst subject in high school and college was math. Any
yeah,
type of math was my worst. I didn't want anything to do with it. Now it's like money. I can do money. We can do that. I
yeah,
can do analytics on that. So like finding the last year was the first year I found like the against the spreads and started finding websites where and I was like, ooh, you gonna start betting this way and beat the system. I'm like, oh, well, there's probably so many people doing this, so I need to figure out another way. So, I think it's a lot of like gut instincts, also with some analytics, also with just like maybe some football know-how or come like weather forecast and injury predictions. There's a
yeah,
lot that goes into being what you would consider a really good gambler, and I think that's why even the best gamblers out there barely break even. Like they're just
yeah,
like a
yeah.
smudge above 50%. It's crazy. Have you ever heard of the guy named Billy Walters when it comes to
I
gambling?
haven't. I haven't heard of Billy. Well, the name sounds familiar, but I'm not familiar with his work. No.
So he is the guy that like originally was banned from Vegas. He's only been interviewed twice, and last year was one of them. But he's probably like in the 70s, 80s, but he started gambling in the 60s, 70s, made like $200 million gambling. Like
Jeez.
created his own handicap system
Yeah.
and just figured out a way. He had like top weather gurus, top injury guys, people that kind of were behind the scenes in certain conferences, like beat writers and stuff. And he would call all these people, and they didn't know that he was gambling, and they all didn't know each other. And he would take like the consensus and then figure out a handicap. And if the handicap was off from the original line, he would just dump like 110K on 10 games that day. And if seven of them won, he's up, $200,000.
Jeez, yeah. It's
Like, and he did
I
that with all of his money.
Yeah, I like doing the trends. I like following along. Early season, you get a couple different trends that pop up that stick out before, whether it's on purpose or where they start to figure it out, and then it starts to. As far as NFL goes specifically, there's definitely some trends early on, and then kind of settles down. People start to realize who the good teams are. You see the Colts. Everyone thought they would probably be the favorite out of the AFC South, and here they are 0-2, and or I should say 0-1-1, I should say, and just a tie to the Texans is pretty much a loss, but just really struggling, and it's cool to see some of these trends pop up, and I'm starting to get into it a little bit more, and it helps early season, but. Some of those big players in the space are pretty cool. Hear about people betting $1 million to drag the line down, and then bet 5 million on the other side when the line gets dropped, so they can bet that net 4 million in there. So all of that stuff is so interesting to me, and I'm just scratching the surface, but definitely having a good time with it.
Well, that's what that Billy Walters guy, he was doing that in the 60s, bro. Like
Yeah,
the
jeez.
70s, he was doing that before.
Uh,
Like, and now it's a lot easier to do that with all these different sports books online. He got to the point where he got kicked out of Vegas and he had people that he called runners that would go to the casino and bet for him. Like he would just give them the picks, they'd go bet for him, they'd make the money, bring it back. He'd give them a percentage of just actually going and working for him. So
jeez.
it's crazy. But so what games you looking at this week, huh? We got a
Yeah,
football and freight show we do on Thursdays. What you looking at?
yeah. I got a couple of these in already, so I don't mind giving away the trend I'm
Okay.
seeing. There's so one of the things that I've noticed the first couple weeks. Just I know it's a small sample size; it's only 2 weeks. Um, Afternoon favorites are 3-1 week one and 3-2 week two. Primetime favorites, these are all against the spread. 2-1 week one, 3-1 week two. Um, and then as far as over under goes, this is something crazy. I didn't even realize it, but week one, 11 games went under. Week two, 11 games went under. So you're seeing a lot of unders happening. Um, as far as the breakdown for like afternoon primetime and day games, afternoon over unders. Three of the 4 games in the afternoon were under, and all 3 games in the afternoon were under week two. So right now they're 1-6, the afternoon unders, and then primetime unders as well are 1-6. So you see a lot of overs in the beginning of the day. A lot of afternoon games, a lot of night games are going under right now. So I'm pretty pumped about the unders right now. I know it could be one of those situations, a bloody Sunday, where they realize this and they're going to switch everything up. But what I will say is I broke it down as well to divisional. A lot of divisional games are specifically going under. So what I'll probably focus on this week is taking divisional games that are in the afternoon and prime time and just taking the under in that game. And then on the opposite non-divisional games, I'll probably take the over. And it's just something that I noticed that, you have back-to-back weeks of 11 games going under and there's 7 divisional games this week. Just trying to find those little trends that stick out to me and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm not a math guy, but might as well follow the averages and take those.
The NFL is crazy. So it was Monday night, no Sunday night. I'm usually terrible at the NFL.
Yeah.
Saturday, I missed almost every college game. But Sunday, literally, I hit every game on Sunday. So I hit 3-game
Nice.
parlays, the 1 p.m. and the 4 p.m. And I hit the Bucks, hit the Jets money line. How that even happened, I have no clue.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I don't even need to play anymore. Like I'm done. And I was like, I'll just
Yeah.
play tonight for fun. And I saw that the unders hit a lot in the first week. And I was like, I'll just take the under tonight just because. I went to bed and it was already in like 30 something points. And I was like, oh, I missed this one. That's over. Aaron Rodgers at least going to score a touchdown or two in the second half.
I was
Nothing.
I was
Nothing
on
in the
that.
under hit.
I was on that one. I had was it 42.5, I think. I took
Yeah.
the under. And then for some reason, whatever, I had some house money to play with. I doubled down and took it at live at 48.5. Still wasn't looking good after like the next drive.
Yeah.
And yeah, 6 points in the second half total was huge.
Crazy.
I woke up, same idea. I woke up and saw it was like that, and just it was a great week, great Sunday, I should say. It was a tough Saturday. Played a couple baseball games for some reason. I won a couple. I won the Monday night game last week, so I did baseball throughout the week for some. I'll probably never do that again. I'm hoping we can
Baseball's so hard.
deactivate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
deactivate
So
it on
hard.
my app. You bet on a team and the starter ends up not starting and you didn't take it. If it was just too much. But yeah, I see a lot of trends. The unders are huge, and the one thing I noticed as well is the average right now for the over unders week one and week two was about 45 and a half, 46, like just like the projected over under. This week it's at 45 as well, closer to 46. So it didn't go down enough for them expecting the overs to happen this week. It stayed pretty
Hmm.
flat. I know there's a lot of divisional games, and I know typically divisional over unders are lower, but I just think it's pretty interesting that they didn't adjust it that much. So there could be another week of unders coming, and worst comes to worst, it goes 8-8. But a little bit of interest behind the unders for me this week for sure.
So here you go. Here's a question. If you had to give one bet for the show that we take over to the football and freight show, what is your one bet for the week that you feel best about?
Yeah, I like the Rams Cardinals under 49. Um, I don't trust Kyler right now. I know they had a pretty big comeback, but I don't think they'll have that sort of comeback against the Rams defense. Um, Call of Duty's out. I don't know if you've seen that with Kyler Murray. Whenever Call of Duty comes out, he just he struggles pretty bad. So I know that's a little bit of a joke, but
No,
at
it's
the same
hilarious.
time,
Yeah.
the trends are there. So I think that's the case. And I think the Rams, are although they do throw the ball a decent amount and they do attack Cup a lot, I think they run the ball and are relatively slow on offense. So I think that's an under. It's a divisional game. It's an afternoon night game. So all trends so far, only 2 weeks, but all trends so far say that the under should hit. It's at 19% of the bets public right now, and then 59% of the money. So the sharps early on are attacking some of these unders. I noticed that in a few other bets as well. So I don't know if it's just me noticing, and I doubt it. I like to think it's just me, but I think that one, I trust right now early on as something that could definitely hit the under. I'm sure it'll probably move, probably to 48 and a half, 48, by the time kickoff. I should say the other way around. Probably move the other way, at some point. But yeah, we'll see. I'm interested in that one.
Well, sweet man. Hey, I'll
Yeah,
play it. I'll play. You
yeah,
know what? What's another game? I'll give it a shot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So my team, I played football at Chattanooga in college, and we play primetime Thursday. They're playing Illinois, so they're playing a big team. So, but the line doesn't drop on those games until like the day of, and
yeah,
sometimes on some sportsbook they don't even pick it up. So I'm hoping that they actually put that out there because I'm going Mox money line all
yeah.
day,
Let's
taking my
go.
boys,
Yeah,
and they're about to get that FCS update, that upset.
yeah. I was raised a Longhorns fan. They got a nice or conference rival with Texas Tech. There's a story earlier that's one of their star players, got arrested for marijuana possession, but it's an old story, and he was just doing like a jail walkthrough today or yesterday.
Mm.
But they ran with the story, and the line moved a little bit. I doubt it was specifically because of that. But I took Texas -5 as far as college goes. I think that was a pretty good one. And I checked this morning, and it's already at 6.5. So got a point and a half free just by betting early. I usually wait on that because there could be an injury throughout the week. But I think in Texas's situation, their backup Hudson Card was doing pretty well. But Quinn Ewers was dressed last week, and he wasn't supposed to be back for 4 weeks. So I think he actually may come back a little bit sooner. And I don't know if Hudson Card's worth a point and a half, but I think Quinn Ewers is, and I think that's why. So that could potentially get pretty square and go to -7. I hate betting on the 7 point bets because you never know. It seems like a little bit of a cop out sometimes for Vegas to throw those out there, and especially
Hmm.
with college with missed kickers that missed kicks and things like that. It's a little scary to see that 7 number, especially in college.
Oh yeah, I mean, even in the NFL now with the field
Yeah,
goals going back a little bit. I mean, you look at the Jets game. That's
yeah,
exactly what happened there. I just needed
yep,
them to cover by 6.5, and they were about to, and the win with the money line. Take that too.
yeah,
But
yeah,
well, dude, let's talk a little bit about what your job, right? So this is what we
yeah,
do as a hobby. So work, Slate Milk. I saw I guess you could call it a commercial, almost like an infomercial on it, because Dana White was on the Pat McAfee show, and they were just talking about his diet, and he was like, I eat this, this, and this, and then in between meals, I'll drink one of these protein shakes because they're fantastic. Actually, I'm gonna send you guys some. Here's what it looks like. I'm gonna send you guys a bunch. And it made me like, hey, what are these? I'm gonna check these out real quick. I need to. But then I got with you too, so you're here. So like, tell me about this Slate Milk.
yeah. Absolutely, man. I appreciate giving me the time to chat about it. And I'll definitely get some out to you guys as well. Josh Belinsky and Manny Lubin, the two co-founders, students at Northeastern University, were trying to figure out, why people don't drink chocolate milk anymore. Both lactose intolerant. Uh, Manny loves exercising, so they're trying to figure out. And chocolate milk's always been a great post-workout recovery, but just trying to figure
That's
out why
smart.
people,
So
yeah,
look,
well, why people aren't drinking chocolate milk anymore. And they walked around Fenway Park during a Red Sox game when like the street around the stadium gets a little busy, and just asking people why. And the majority of the answers were, too high in sugar or they're lactose intolerant. So they set out to find a reason and find a way to formulate a product that sort of fit both of those molds, low sugar as well as, lactose free. So, it's been about 4.5, 5 years, ton of variations, ton of different formulations. But the biggest thing, and we're pretty excited about now, is we're just starting to perfect the line. We have the three original SKUs, our dark chocolate, which I love. That's my personal favorite. We also have a classic chocolate. We have a mocha latte. And we just started to add some innovation. We're at the point where we like where the formula is at. Now we have a vanilla and a vanilla latte coming out. Right now, only in Publix for vanilla latte and vanillas, on Amazon as well. And we'll be working our way up the coast, selling into stores with some of the new innovations. So, yeah, I mean, lactose free, 0 grams of added sugar. We use a sugar called allulose, which is naturally found, in brown sugar and maple syrup, as well as raisins. So it doesn't raise your blood sugar. Still very sweet. Doesn't have that aftertaste that a lot of the fake sugars do have. So, we've and we also are high in fiber. So we do have the keto audience. If people are keto friendly, our product is as well. We're kosher. So, some people, we really wanted to make it and really get it so everyone, and people can have it, not just milk drinkers. Although there are a ton of alternative milks out there, we still see the dairy market rising. We still see a huge push in people drinking dairy, and the biggest thing is lactose intolerant people, and we got rid of that for that reason alone. It's a huge market, and we're starting to find ourselves in the right spot. Those like ready to drink protein section in stores that do a ton of business still.
Yeah, dude. Hey, great sales pitch, by the way.
Yeah.
Bravo. Good job, man.
Thank you.
Sounds like
Thank you.
you've done that a few times over these Zoom calls.
Yeah.
So what are you doing as far as like as the district sales manager? So do you have, is it kind of like pharmaceutical sales, and like you have a group of guys, a territory, and you kind of riding with them or checking in with them on what they're doing on their daily?
Yeah, we're starting to get into the ride along side of things. I actually have a trip out to New York City. I'm located in Boston, but we have a trip out to New York City, to visit three of the reps and train a new rep as well. We have someone onboarding on Long Island, but to be honest, we the area sales managers, for the most part, are, they do a lot of the day to day for themselves. For myself, I have about 15 reps that I manage, and then I also manage three third-party merchandising teams, so teams that go out there that in areas that we don't have a lot of stores. There's these merchandisers that work for like 50 different brands, and they'll go in the store and do basically what my reps do, but for a bunch of different brands, pitch displays, let them know about promotions. So I manage a team of, there's about 60 reps in total, but I basically manage just like their manager, let them know about promos and send anything that they need. And then also doing a little bit of hiring. It's the cool part, and also a little chaotic part about being a small business is, although we're in 4,000 plus stores, still pretty small as far as the actual hierarchy goes. So doing a little bit of everything, wearing a lot of hats, ordering shippers and metal racks and pitching promotions and selling it to independents. We have a full team that does that as well, and that's a part of my day to day as well.
Yeah, so talk about how the Amazon prices ticked up, or not the prices, but the Amazon sales ticked up with the mention of an influencer like a Dana White on Pat McAfee's show. How the
Yeah,
Amazon sales went up so drastically.
yeah, absolutely. So one thing that we're growing in general is Amazon business. It's a monster. They have so much business, and a lot of people are buying us in bulk. Um, the retail sales in grocery stores, it's typically single serve. We have a couple 4 packs out there, but for the most part, it's single serve. And our partnership team and our influencer team is growing like crazy. Brian Mazza, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's a fitness guy, but he's got a ton of following. We have a ton of like workout influencers that we're growing to. And as far as McAfee goes, I was a huge fan. Dana White, obviously, huge portion of the UFC and the MMA community itself. We have a couple, independent and small fighters that use our product, and we actually sponsor them. But yeah, he was on the McAfee show. It was about 100,000 live viewers, and hundreds of thousands more throughout the week that listened to him. And he just pitched our product naturally, and we didn't know that he was a fan. We heard about it, but we weren't sure, and it just came out of nowhere. And our business, our Amazon business, spiked up about 40% just that night alone. Just because, compared to a typical day, just because he pitched us on that show. And honestly, it's a perfect crowd. You got him from the UFC and MMA community, and then you have McAfee, an ex NFL player who also has the wrestling community as well that it follows him. So, everything at once. It's the perfect community that we wanted to have, and it happened. And it was a huge portion of that. So that's something that we knew would help, but we weren't sure how much scope it would and how much business it bring us. And now I think the partnership teams, which I'm not a part of, but work closely with, I think that'll be a big portion of 2023 is starting to get the influencers and partnerships going, podcasts and things like that we're starting to look into.
Yeah, awesome. What how big is your team? So like if y'all are still a small business, I mean obviously that's a revenue number. How big is
Yeah,
your company as far as employee size?
we have about 35 to 40 total. A lot of it being probably half the team being sales, a few marketing, and then some of the behind the scenes operations and things. So growing pretty quickly. Me doing a lot of the hiring. I'd like to hire and grow quicker. It's been quite the challenge being not from hiring in the past and doing that myself. But yeah, it's we're about 35 to 40 people. We actually just had a company retreat last weekend. Everyone came up to Boston throughout the country, and we're able to get together for the first time because everything else is
Wow.
done virtually. We don't see each other. It's weird when I was a Boston rep actually in the field, knowing my two co-founders and the CMO and the director of finance or everything were less than 5 miles away, but never seeing them unless it was on a Zoom. It was pretty cool to get everyone in person and actually get a little bit of energy and a little bit of a thing behind just like a screen because at times it can be a little bit of a drag just to only do this.
Yeah, it can. And, we work in an office and we have all of
Yeah,
our people here. And, we've all, throughout the whole pandemics, we're in Tennessee.
yeah,
We still did our
yeah,
thing, right? We're right outside the city limits. We could get away with some things. Um, but I've never known anything other than this. So
yeah,
remote work would be different for me. And I've been, I guess, vocal about being against it, but I'm becoming more open to it. Like, I
yeah,
think I would actually I think I could be better at a hybrid schedule, um, more so than just like being stuck in one place all the time.
yeah, yeah,
I like the flexibility of having like a different day every day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's cool. But I could see how it could get boring behind a screen as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as our company and the way we have our area sales managers is because there's only one in each major city. So those people, our reps wouldn't necessarily be seeing a lot of people. The Boston situation's a little different because we being in Boston, I'll say it's pretty blue state. So getting back to the office was a lot of hoops to jump through, and it was probably not going to happen. And at this point, because we're a pretty digital company for the most part, we don't manufacture the product like in house or anything. We don't have our own facility. Everything just to cut costs and things like that. We are strictly digital at the moment, but there's some consideration in getting kind of like a sales office in Boston to potentially just get the people together every month or so, maybe do one of those like we work and some of those offices just to get, some sort of quarterly meetings and things. Cause again, like at times, like, we could have these tough conversations with reps, if stores and districts aren't really selling too well, but you close your laptop and that's the end of the conversation till your next one-on-one. So it's, and there's no like, added, there's no, back and forth. It's basically just kind of like preaching behind a screen, and you just don't get that same feeling and things like that. So I agree. I'm not the biggest fan. I like it for food, just being able to cook my own meals while I'm working. If I go to the gym, I can come back and like, if I don't have any calls and external calls in the morning, I can, you know, just kind of delay my morning a little bit and shower and do those things like after I get, after a couple minutes and checking emails and things. I can sneak out to the gym during lunchtime. So, it's not too much of a deal. I know some people do that as well in office, but I think some of those like flexibility things and If I have like a dinner plan, I can just leave right at 5 and not have to worry about, going home, commuting, and then changing. So there's definitely a little bit of flexibility, but the emotional part of it, I think, has been a little bit of a challenge to get over for sure.
Yeah. Are you married, girlfriend,
No,
anything to
nope,
live with?
no.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that'll change, right? That changes
yeah,
things, or
yeah,
whenever
for
you
sure.
add someone into the mix. So that I'd be hesitant. Maybe I wasn't. I always wanted to be in an office, when I was, I guess, by myself or whatever. But now that
Yeah,
I'm, in a relationship, big deal, family, that whole thing, like I kind of want to be at home. I kind of want to,
yeah, yeah,
or at least that flexibility to. But we have a great business, as far as like flexibility and understand, like, you don't have to be here. If you need to work from
yeah,
home, if you need to do something, yeah, you can do it, but just don't take advantage of it, right? That's
yeah.
kind of our motto. And as because we have 17 people in office, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
I
family. It's
think
literally a family.
I think that's a cool thing too that I've started to get into is a little bit more travel, being able to work from wherever. I've done a couple trips out to San Diego, and although you're starting at 6 a.m., you're still, in the winter. It's nice to get away
Yeah.
when it's a little bit colder up here in the Northeast, and be able to work from wherever. And just once the day's over, and you can go enjoy a little bit of vacation and have your nights to yourself, or things like that. I think that's one pro that people starting to look into as far as that is just working literally from anywhere, not necessarily from home.
Yeah, no, it's got to be cool to be able to kind of work wherever you want to be. That's what all of us want to do, right? Travel around the
Yeah,
world and
yeah,
kind of have our own schedule. So we're at 30 minutes here, so let's wrap it up.
yeah,
One question I like to ask everybody that comes on, and thanks, dude, thank you so much for
yeah. This is
enjoyed this
great.
conversation.
Yeah.
But one question I like to ask everybody, and talking more sales wise, what's one tip you'd give to somebody that's getting into sales? Just kind of get them started. What kind of advice would you give them if this is going to be the first job they're just jumping into it?
Yeah, I mean, getting into it, you want to know your product, you want to know the ins and outs of it, but get to know your competitors as well, get to know the market. I think that's a huge portion of it. I think, especially in beverage specifically, you can know your product inside and out, but if you're trying to compare it to another brand that is pretty similar to yours, if you don't know the answers to that, they may just stick with the brand that they have, the one that they're used to, the one that they know. So I think market research is a big thing, and then if you're actually calling on people and doing external calls like outbound calls, getting to know the people that you're talking to. I worked at a brand that's just so we used to send 100 emails a day, 100 calls a day. It was spray and pray. I like the targeted approach. I like, doing like the 25 emails that are actually written yourself, doing your research, researching what people like. They went to a certain college, mentioning that, hey, tough, tough week this week, but you'll bounce back next week in your comments, and really putting something that sticks out when you do your outreach. Because I just started to realize it myself being on a management side. You get a ton of emails a day, and for the most part, they're just click through. So you don't have that inbox at like 100. You want to get down to
Right.
like the zero. So a lot of times you really have to stick out. So, I would say market research and also researching your prospects and doing that little extra legwork that, you may not want to do, but it goes a long ways. And, people that get the emails that see that extra work, a lot easier to respond to you, in that sense.
Dude, love that. That's really good
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, I'm literally about to tell my guys that exact same thing. So,
Yeah.
well, dude, thanks for coming on the show. I loved it.
Yeah.
We'll get you back on here. Maybe if this bet hits, we might have to get you on Football and Freight next week to be a special guest picker
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
the bet hits. So we're
I'll
going under in which game?
Yeah, so under 49 in the Rams and Cardinals. Right now, just seeing a 40% difference in the public bets between the money and the public bets. So, but in general, I would say look out for the unders for divisional games. That's the general tip of the week.
There you go. Well, hey, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so Cody.Sloniecki is my Instagram, and then Cody Sloniecki on LinkedIn. Those are the two ones that LinkedIn. I love posting on there. I love getting active on there. So feel free to reach out there or even on Instagram as well.
All right, brother. Hey, man, I appreciate it. We'll get
Yeah,
off here. You have a good rest of your day.
Connor, thank you very much. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Cody.